Okay, enough. I'm sorry. Please don't go.
Hello, it's Thursday. So this week we are going to be making Squiddy the octopus. So I've been seeing a few chonk photos popping up around the place. So I just wanted to say, if any of you choose to make Squiddy, tag me in it on Instagram and I will pick a couple and feature them in next week's video. I won't do it for the chonk ones just because I don't want to do it without anybody's permission. But if you tag me in your squids, yeah, I will share some of them with you the week after. So let's start that as a tradition.
Remember, if you like this pattern, you can check out my channel. There are lots more like it over there.
All right, let's get cracking.
Okay, so let's look at tools and materials. So to make Squiddy, you're going to need 8 ply, 100% acrylic yarn in however many colors you like. I'm going to be using probably 3, this purple, this blue-green, and possibly this light yellow, I'm not sure yet. You're going to need a pair of 21mm safety eyes. You're going to need your 3.5mm hook, pins and needles, a pair of scissors, and some stuffing. But that's it. Okay, so first up, let's zhuzh up these eyes a little bit. There we go. Okay, so to start with, we're going to be making the head. So for the head, we're going to start in the top of the forehead and we're going to work in a continuous spiral all the way down to where his head meets his tentacles, and it's going to be left open on that end. So we are just going to work that piece up now. All right, so that's the head piece done. You'll note that we've stuffed it quite firmly and given it a really good squidge to make sure that stuffing is evenly and smoothly distributed. You want to make sure that your starting point is centered nicely at the back part of the head and that there are no sort of bulges out on either side. That is your head piece. So we're going to pop that to one side. And next up, we are going to make the tentacles. So we are going to make 8 of them. And I'm going to be working a pattern on mine by making every 3rd row my accent color, but you can sort of do what you feel is correct. So now that your desk looks like a Kraken attack, anybody else ever get the urge to just sort of turn things like this into a pair of gloves? Okay, enough. I'm sorry. Please don't go. Okay, so the next piece we're going to make is our eye sockets. The next row is worked in back post. Okay, so those are our 2 eye sockets, and I know that they don't look quite the same as what they look like on the finished thing, but that's because we use a little magic to make them take the right shape. So what we're just going to do for now is insert each one of our safety eyes through that magic ring that we started the piece with. We're not snapping the backs on for now, and we're making sure that the little ridge created by back post is showing at the front of each of the pieces. And you're going to pop those to one side. So next, we are going to create this piece that goes underneath as like his belly. So we construct this all in one piece. So we start in the middle and we work up this central circle bit. And then what we do is working backwards and forwards, we work up each tentacle and then we work down the side just to work up the next tentacle and then down the side and the next tentacle. So it's all one piece, which I think makes it a lot easier. So we are going to work up that piece now and then we will finally start assembling. Okay, so you'll note that the edges are curling up in on themselves. That's normal. Normally it's not what you want, but it is for this particular piece. That's how we get this sort of interesting muscular type shape underneath. So now we are going to work the underside of the first tentacle. So we are going to slip stitch twice, single crochet, triple crochet, 2 single crochet, triple crochet, and then a single crochet to make 6 stitches. We're then going to chain 1 and turn. We will decrease, 2 single crochet, and then decrease again for a total of 4 stitches, chain 1 and turn. So in the next stitches you're going to want to single crochet, then 2 triple crochet, and then single crochet, for a total of 4 stitches again. Chain 1 and turn. The next row we are going to decrease and then put 2 single crochet, chain 1 and turn, then single crochet, triple crochet, single crochet, and then chain 1 and turn. Then we are going to decrease and single crochet, chain 1 and turn. We are going to put 2 single crochet in, 1 and 2, chain 1 and turn, then decrease. So now you'll see that we've got our wrong side still facing us and we need to change that. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then working down the side of the tentacle, we are going to put 8 single crochet in. That includes 1 in the decrease we just did at the top. That is 8, and then we will slip stitch into the next 2 stitches on our foundation piece. So there is your first tentacle. Now, those triple crochets that we did, what we're going to do when we sew it on is make sure that they bulge outwards and they give just a little bit of texture to add a few tiny little suckers onto the underside of our tentacle, which will stop us having to like stitch them on by hand, which is always a blessing. If you don't like the slight little bit of texture that's going to be showing, leave those triple crochets out, replace them just with regular single crochet. But now basically what we're going to do is repeat that set of instructions 7 more times around the outside of this piece. Okay, so we finished making that underpiece, and you'll note that it's looking very wrinkly and very curly, and that's okay. That's kind of what we expect it to look like at this point. So now kind of comes the fun bit where we're going to start pinning everything together. So first things first, we are going to attach our eyepieces. So we've already attached them through the little circular bits. So each eye gets attached on a side of this sort of narrow opening. You're going to want to insert the stem of the eye, which is still not clipped off, roughly 6 rows up from that opening.
Hi guys, me from the future. So just a note about these eyes here, I have put them down too low. So what you'll be able to see on the finished models is that the original, their eyes are up and they're visible. These guys are mostly covered by the tentacles, but by the time I realize that, it's way too late. So this is me telling you, put your eyes up higher than I do in this video. Okay, back to it.
And we're poking that stem through the second layer. So basically, the first layer is the eye socket, the second layer is the head. Pupil management there. And it should be enough that even if it's sitting completely flat, that eye socket does not overlap the opening. So you want to position those eyes roughly 6 rows up from the opening, and you want there to be roughly 6 or 7 stitches between the edges of the 2 sockets if they were laying flat against the head. So I am now going to pop those backs into place. What do you reckon? Should we just stop now and call it a surprised fish? Oh no! No, we're not going to do that. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Now I'm just going to finish stuffing the head because there is still a lot of room in that neck. We're going to grab some pins. So on this row of stitches around the eyepiece, we can still see clearly a front loop and a back loop. And what you're going to want to do is pin that front loop down to the head. Because when we sew it on, we'll be sewing it through the front loops so that we don't get a ridge that we're not looking for. And in doing that, it's actually going to fold this piece down and create that little eye ridge that we're looking for. So work safely around your eyepiece, pinning down all of those front loops. Do a little pupil management if you need to, and repeat the process on the other side. So fold it down flat, scoop up a front loop with that pin, and secure it to the body. We're going to do that again the whole way around. Okay, so I'm now going to sew those in place. So I'm through the front loop of that stitch. I'm going to just go through the gaps behind those stitches. Pull that down, and I'm going to go up through the next front loop. Secure it down through the gaps. And I'm going to continue that process the whole way around both of those eyes. Okay, so those are the eyes fully attached. That is the head assembled. So now we are going to pull in all of the feet. Now you can see that I've gone and stitched on a little bit of extra detailing around each of the legs, just because I wanted to tie in the yellow a little bit more to the top. And over here in Australia, we have something called a blue-ringed octopus. Now, this isn't a blue-ringed octopus. That's because I wanted to handle it without dying. But it is a ringed octopus. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab our undercarriage. We're going to grab one of our tentacles. And we're going to stuff the tentacle just a little bit. Just enough for it to hold its shape, but not be overflowing. So I'm going to poke out all of the triple crochets so that they are nice and knobbly. The top of the tentacle has this finishing off point coming out of it. So we want to pin the undercarriage to the underside of that. So we're going to pin it in 3 places. We're going to pin it at the tip and at the base at either side. Now be careful not to stab yourself during this process. In fact, just as a rule of thumb, be careful not to stab yourself during any process. And I'm going to repeat that 7 more times until we have all 8 tentacles pinned to our undercarriage. So there we go. So you'll note that it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy, and I like to call this stage dramatic. Once you've done it, you might have had to stretch things apart a little bit to get them to fit. So this nightmare starfish, what you do is you just pat it down flat until it's all sitting up the right way. So I'm rotating those tentacles so that down is down, and then you'll end up with a much nicer, neater looking sort of little star. Okay, so we're going to take this starfish and we're going to stitch everything together. Now, just as we did for the eye sockets, where possible, you are going to just pick up the outer/front loop of the yellow, and you're going to stitch through the gaps between the stitches. That is so important. It's so important so that you don't end up with a very chunky finish. So you see how this has got like a really chunky edge? We want it to be like stitched down nice and flat, which is where those loops and those gaps come into play. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to stitch around the whole edge of this beast. Okay, so we've stitched the whole way around the outside, and I've pinched out as many of these little tentacle bobbles as I could be bothered pinching out, if I'm honest, but I will get to the rest later. So you see we've got our nice bobbly undersided starfish. So now we are done playing patty-cake with a calcitrant cephalopod. We are going to attach the head of said cephalopod. So the way we go about doing that is actually, first of all, you want to pull out all of the sort of tails from your tentacles, because they are instrumental in attaching the head to the body. So now what we are going to do is we're going to grab our headpiece and we're going to plonk it down in the middle of that opening. Make sure you position it so that you've got a pair of tentacles that frame the head nicely, so it's nice and even. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tail from this first tentacle and I'm going to pull it up the body, and we're going to just pin that firmly in place. I'm going to grab the next one over, and I'm also going to pull that one up the body and pin it in place. So that's your first 2. Now for this next one, I've pulled mine all the way to the front. Do the same on the other side. Okay, so that's your first 4 secured. Now for the ones at the back, so first up we've got this one at the side, and we're going to pull that around the back of that eye, and give it a little pin in place. And then same thing for the one on the other side, pull it around to the back of the eye. And that leaves you just with these 2, and you're going to just line those up nicely with the back of the head. Now note that for these ones at the back, I'm not pulling out their tail and stretching upwards. We are sort of almost tucking under and attaching flat. That'll be how they all attach to the cephalopod. So that's roughly where your starting position should be for all of them, but I'm going to wiggle this one here back a little bit. I'm going to wiggle this one here forward a little bit just to even them out. I want a nice even distribution of tentacles. So start with them in the starting positions and then adjust them accordingly. So we're then going to take our needle and our thread, and we're going to stitch around each of these tentacles until all of them are attached to the body. Okay, so now that that's all stitched on, we're basically done, but what I'm just going to do is I want to create a few spots for his head, just to make him a little bit fancier. So that's what we're just going to do now. So while I decorate this little guy, I invite you down to hit that like button and let me know if you enjoy this kind of pattern so that I know what to keep working on.
So yeah, there is our finished squid. The eyes are a little low on this version of him, so definitely put your eyes up a little bit higher.
A written version of this pattern has been provided to my patrons and will be up in my store. So I will leave links to both of those in the description below. So next week I am planning another oceanic themed creature, but you will have to watch this space because I am still working on that design. So like if you liked it, comment if you have something to say, subscribe, and I will see you next week.
Okay, bye.